Growing up, I believed my father was the safest place in the world. The steady presence who checked my room at night and hugged me so tightly it felt like nothing bad could ever reach me. But monsters don't always live in the shadows. Sometimes they sit at your dinner table, smiling. The day everything shattered was a cold February morning in 2005 when a knock at my door changed my entire reality. Two FBI agents stood there, their expressions grave as they spoke the words that broke me open. "Your father has been arrested. He is the BTK killer." I felt my breath leave my body, my mind rejecting the truth as I whispered, "No, you're wrong." But their eyes said otherwise. Suddenly, the man who packed my lunches, who taught Sunday school, who kissed my forehead goodnight, became a stranger, wearing my father's face. In the days after, memories I once cherished twisted into darker shapes. His obsession with rules, his need for control, the way he stared too intently at news about BTK. I wondered how I had lived beside a mask without ever seeing the cracks. Eventually, I went to the jail, desperate for answers. When he appeared behind the glass, looking calm, almost relieved, he greeted me with a soft, "Hi, hun," like this was just another ordinary day. My voice barely existed when I asked, "Did you do it?" His eyes lowered, and after a long, suffocating pause, he said, "Yes." The word crawled across the table like venom. I watched the truth settle on him like freedom, and on me like a curse. As the world saw him as the monster he truly was, I struggled to understand how the man who raised me could also be the man who ended innocent lives. Hearing him describe his victims as projects shattered something deep inside me. Those were human beings, not trophies. My father's last name became a weight I could not escape. People whispered, stared, judged, as if his sins belonged to me too. But I refused to let his darkness swallow me. I told myself I was not him, could never be him. And even when doubt crept in late at night, I kept fighting. Eventually I learned that silence only feeds shame, so I chose to speak, to write, to confront the truth instead of letting it crush me. My story is not a defense of him, it is a reclamation of myself. Because this isn't the story of BTK, it's the story of his daughter, who faced the most devastating truth imaginable and still chose to step into the light, refusing to let a monster define her future. In the months after my father's arrest, life became a maze of questions I didn't know how to answer, and emotions I wasn't prepared to feel. Every day pulling me deeper into a world I never asked to enter. Reporters crowded my neighborhood, cameras flashing like lightning every time I stepped outside, all of them hungry to capture the daughter of a monster. I avoided mirrors because I didn't want to see his features in mine, didn't want to wonder what darkness might be hiding under my own skin. Yet everywhere I went, people watched me the way you watch a sudden crack forming in the ground, fearful it might open wider. Late at night, I replayed every childhood moment for hidden signs, trying to decide what had been real and what had been carefully constructed. I remembered the camping trips where he taught me to build a fire, the meticulous way he tied knots, the intense focus in his eyes that I once thought meant patience, but now looked disturbingly like calculation. I began digging into his past, searching for patterns, for anything that explained how a man could live two lives so flawlessly. The police reports, the court documents, the taped confessions, they were all pieces of a puzzle. I wasn't sure I wanted to finish, yet I couldn't stop. The more I learned, the more I realized he had built his entire existence on control, precision, and a hidden hunger that grew quietly behind every smile he gave us. I felt betrayed by every memory, every lesson, every father-daughter moment suddenly tainted by the truth he kept buried. Still, some part of me needed to understand how he had fooled all of us for so long. Needed to know whether any part of the man I loved had ever truly existed. Then came the moment I wasn't expecting. The letter. A thick envelope addressed in his unmistakable handwriting, sent from the prison, waiting in my mailbox like a ghost. My hands trembled as I held it, because inside those folded pages was something he claimed I deserved to know. Something he had never told anyone. For a long time I stood frozen, unable to open it, because I could feel the weight of whatever truth he had written inside. And I knew once I read those words, nothing about my past or my future would ever be the same. And as I slowly tore the envelope open and saw the first line of his message, my breath caught in my throat. Because what he admitted in that opening sentence was something I never imagined he would confess to me. The moment my eyes landed on the first line of his letter, the world seemed to narrow to the size of those handwritten words. Each one pressed hard into the paper, like he wanted to carve them into my mind. He wrote about nights when he disappeared without explanation, nights I had dismissed as extra shifts or volunteer meetings, but now he described them with chilling honesty. Moments when he stood just outside our home after a killing, watching the lights through the windows, listening to the quiet hum of our lives, as if he needed the warmth of our innocence to steady himself. Reading his words felt like being pulled underwater, every sentence tightening around me as he tried to explain how he had kept his two lives separated, how he used us as the anchor that kept him from losing control. A phrase that made my skin crawl. He insisted he loved us, that he had always loved us, as if affection could somehow erase the horrors he had inflicted on strangers. I felt sick knowing he believed that love and violence could coexist inside him without touching each other. Then the tone shifted, subtle at first, but unmistakable. He wrote about unresolved tasks, things he had never shared with investigators, details he claimed were too personal, too deeply connected to the part of himself he had buried. My heart pounded faster with every line as he hinted that some things he had done were never discovered, that there were pieces of his story that still belonged only to him. I wanted to stop reading, but I couldn't. I needed to know what he was leading up to. As I reached the end of the page, I found a final paragraph written in darker ink, the strokes jagged, almost frantic, as if he had been desperate to get the words down. He wrote that he had left something hidden years ago, something meant for me, something he claimed explained everything. And then, just as my pulse hammered in my ears and dread curled deep in my stomach, he ended the letter with a sentence that made my hands go cold. "You will find it where I used to go when I needed to become who I really was." And below that, in a shaky script, he added, "You know the place." For hours I stared at the final line of his letter, the one insisting that I knew the place, even though every part of me wished I didn't. But deep down, buried under years of memories I tried to forget, one location rose to the surface with chilling clarity. The old shed behind our childhood house, the one he always kept locked, the one he claimed was just for tools and work supplies, the one he never let any of us enter. Even as an adult, I remembered the smell of oil and metal that drifted from it when he opened the door just wide enough to slip inside, always closing it quickly behind him. For years I had chalked it up to his desire for privacy, or his need for control. But now his words twisted the memory into something darker, something I wasn't sure I wanted to face. Still, I knew I couldn't ignore it. If he had left something for me, something connected to who he really was. I needed to find it. Not because I wanted to understand him, but because I needed to put an end to the shadows he had cast over every part of my life. When I finally stood outside the shed again, the air felt thick with old ghosts. The padlock had been removed long ago by investigators, but the door still groaned with the same reluctance it had when I was a child. Inside, dust coated everything in a thin gray layer, softening the edges of shelves, containers, and wooden crates. But the silence felt sharp, as if the place still held its breath. I moved slowly, afraid to discover anything and terrified not to. Boxes filled with tangled cords, jars of rusted nails, weathered binders. Most of it looked harmless, but I knew better now than to trust simplicity. Then I noticed a small wooden box tucked behind a stack of old tarps. So ordinary it would have been easy to overlook if not for its placement. Centered, alone, untouched by dust as if someone had wiped it clean before leaving it there. My throat tightened. This was it. My hands trembled as I picked it up, feeling its surprising weight, the lid loose but not fully open, as if waiting for me. Every instinct screamed to put it down, to walk away, to leave the past sealed forever. Yet something stronger pushed me forward. I lifted the lid slowly, bracing myself for whatever truth he had hidden inside. And when I finally saw what was waiting for me, a cold wave of dread went through me so violently that for a moment I couldn't breathe, because the object lying inside was something I recognized instantly, something that absolutely should not have been there. And it raised a question even more terrifying than the answer I had come searching for.